All right. This is, I mean, honestly, I'm very lucky to have all of these guys in the same frame. It's extremely difficult to do this, especially, designers. Shelly has come from Mumbai. Um, Arjun just joined us. Yeah. So I'm I just can't believe Ttox had the power to put all of them under one roof in one frame and with a mic behind a camera, in front of a camera. Why am I saying behind a camera? We are so used to being behind the camera, right? So they're actually in front of the camera. So this particular panel discussion is to understand how board games as a culture in India is growing. Is it even there? Right? Because all of us here have not just invested time and money and sweat. I think, I think Shelly can give us a lot more insights on the amount of investments that she has made. Um, we have educators from Srishti, we have designers sitting here, we have Shelly, who's a designer slash publisher, jumped into the bandwagon. I think more like not even jumped, it was just crash landing into it. So, sorry. And I'm Palgun. We've designed games, we've published games. More importantly, we are doing everything possible to build the board gaming community in India. And Ttox is the first step. Honestly, it's not like this is the first ever convention or anything. There have been, we have so many people sitting in the audience who've been putting in their own, their own effort, but all of this has always been in silos. They're doing their own branding, marketing, trying to figure out their target market. What are the games that they would do? Why games? Why games as a theme? And this is going to be the theme for the next session as well, because that's going to be a completely different business that they are actually running. Okay, and yeah, I don't want to take too much time. We have a fantastic stage here, and I want to start off with Arjun. Arjun, just introduce yourself and why are you here at Ttox? Tell us a bit about your game, okay? And after that, we'll go with the flow, yeah? Introduce yourself, tell us a bit about what you're doing, either at Srishti or at your own, venture and stuff like that. And after that, we'll go with the flow. Yeah? Awesome.
Okay, hello. So my name is Arjun. I'm basically a chartered accountant. I turned into game designing 7 years back. So I was actually fed up with my job of this 9 to 5 and working for somebody else and doing the tax returns and stuff like that. So I just wanted to unleash my inner creativity. So that's when it all started. So initially I had worked on this theme called Breaking Bad. I don't know if many of you had seen. It's a serial. So and then I went to the US to show the game, showcase the game to the creators of the serial. But then that's where I got to know about the business of making games is not just like having an idea and directly bringing it to the market. It has an entire streamline of things which need to fall in place, like licensing, distribution, marketing and stuff like that. So cut back to my designing phase, I then again started working on a newer game because I personally felt that the theme-based content was lacking a lot in the world, and most of the themes that were being created was very generic, or it wasn't catering to the mindsets of the particular population to which the people were selling the board game. So I thought, like, if there is a possibility to create games which are culturally oriented to that particular country, it would sell more than the other games that are being made in the Western countries and being sold here. So that's where I thought of bringing something, and as you all know, here in India, the biggest cultural thing is spirituality. So I thought of opening up that subject and trying to bring about a game on that. And for all you know, fortunately, like, India has always had a very rich history of board games and spirituality being spread in this board gaming format, being Moksha Path or being the games in Mahabharata which teaches about strategy. So that's where I thought, okay, is there a possibility to revive this culture by making modern board games which can cater to the new age audience as well as connect with the older group of audience, because you need all today's modern board games have no emotional connect with the older age group like 40 plus or 50 plus. So only way possible is coming to a common point which I felt like spirituality, everybody is emotionally connected with it. So I started working on the game, started exploring different cultures, and then like 7 years later, I right now come up with a game. It's called Game of Divine. So hopefully in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I'll be launching it soon. The reason why I came here to Ttox is predominantly visibility and also the lack of board game play testers and conventions like this, because board game has this inherent problem where you need people to play it. It's not like a digital game where you can just take up your phone and start playing it. So every time you need people, and then due to their responsibilities they might not come, so you'll just have to keep waiting. And also the number of times that a board game needs to be play tested is humongous, because what you have in your mind and what you print it on paper are completely different when it is being played. So the more you play test and the more you play test, the better the refinement happens, and you'll have to keep going back to the drawing board to again redo things, and there will be a lot of opinions that people have, so you'll have to work on all of them and try to bring a balance. So that's where I thought, okay, getting a new perspective from a crowd which is completely unknown might, help me getting a new insight of how we can, develop the game further, or whether it is ready for the market to get published. So, and I was really surprised, because right from morning I've been bombarded by people, especially the subject being a very famous subject. Like people were all the time asking me what is it, asking me to explain the mechanics. So I literally had to close down everything and take a break, and then here I am. So hopefully more of these gaming conventions happen, and it opens up a gaming culture, because that's what can create the ecosystem as such, and people can take it forward. So kudos to Falgun for organizing such a great event.
No, I think he just opened up a ton of questions, and this is exactly what is happening in India right now in 2023-24, right? This is the scene of board game industry where designers are figuring out a concept, and is this concept researched? Is, like how he said he went to US and pitched it and came back and realized what is that one concept which Indians would relate to, and that crazy spiral of discovery, and not even a spiral, what do you call that, design thinking, right? So that's part of our blood as designers, right? I have 3 mics in my hand for some reason, but he's just opened a ton of questions, and I'm very happy that you did this. It's going to open up the floor for a lot of discussions.
So my name is Shubhangi. I run a visual communication design studio. We're based out of Bangalore. It's called Ladyfingers Co. We are not pros in board games or anything like that. We are a design studio, and we've created games for other companies before as a solution to training problems. So that is where we first started making games as something that we do as graphic designers. The client came with the problem, and we kind of solved it through a game. So we have very little knowledge on how board games work. We are more solution oriented, and that's how we started. And we recently launched a brand called Cabbage, and the idea came from doing something that is we are passionate about as a studio, which is food. So as a studio, all of us are big foodies. We love experimenting with food. We've introduced all our interns and changed them from vegetarians to non-vegetarians also. So it's been, we're quite excited about that. So we wanted to do something with regard to food, and game is something we've done for some clients but weren't getting enough opportunities. So we wanted to try it on our own. So we created a game called Dishkyaoon, which is the idea is to have fun with food, to demystify the fact that cooking is a very complicated thing, or the fact that you need to be a chef or be a chef to make a great dish. It's just about like, going into your kitchen, putting things together. The dosa you put on a pan, it will become a dosa by the end of it. So it's as simple as that. So the idea was that everyone plays this game and kind of has the overall concept is to have fun with food. You don't have to cook while playing the game, but hopefully in the future you get excited about cooking. So yeah, that's the game and that's how we started. We have little to no knowledge about how to sell it right now. That's why we are here. We just designed it, we just produced it ourselves because we are designers, so we have the capability of production, but don't have the capability of selling a board game right now. So that's something that we thought is an interesting space to see how people are doing it, how do you market it, and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's where we've done.
So the best part about this is, I have never met half of these guys. All right, I've met Shelly and Shraddha, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right? And we've been in the industry for more than 6 years now.
Yeah.
We've been, I don't know if you know this, we had a board games design lab group, which was created probably 6 years ago?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. And we were in the initial team?
Proactive.
Yeah, so I was there in the original team. It was like 5 people, 2018. Today, you'll be blown away. There are 600 plus Indian game designers on this group. They have literally created a link tree for Discord discussions, WhatsApp groups for sales discussions, manufacturing discussions, rulebook discussions. And it's one of the most active WhatsApp groups ever.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. Like actually we came here and I'm from Srishti, I studied at Srishti. I didn't know Srishti was doing board games. One of our interns who actually helped us make this game was her student, which
Wow.
I didn't know. So yeah, that was quite interesting that, even within the small circle, we don't know enough people
Right.
directly. So this is a great convention to kind of connect that way. Yeah.
All right. I want to give Shelly, because she's always the last person on all calls and all discussions.
Okay.
Shelly, please
Hi.
introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Falgun. Like Falgun said that, I kind of gate crashed into board gaming. So, often they say some of the best things happen by accident. So I got into board gaming because my son, who was 14 at that time, actually wrote a board game and he was leading a board game club. And we just got excited about it and we started developing it indigenously. And as we progressed, we ended up doing a Kickstarter for the game. It got funded. And we ended up tapping the entire professional ecosystem thanks to the game design ecosystem that Falgun just spoke of. So today, we've launched our first 4X game, which is called War of Civilisations. And we've launched it in the USA. Basically this year, it's last year, which is as recently as August. And the reason for me to come to Ttox is that, internationally it's being very well received. In India, I don't think a lot of people don't know that a game like that has come from an Indian publisher. Because when you look at the game, it does not have a typical India story. It's the first futuristic sci-fi game coming from India, which is not really, the norm. So a lot of people who actually see it, they're pleasantly surprised to see that it's coming from an Indian publisher. So I also realized that I think it was time that we created the connect with the Indian audiences. What I also feel from a board gaming ecosystem in India versus whatever international exposures that we've done. In India, I think light games is what is the mass market is, whereas internationally, you will, interestingly for our game, is considered medium to heavy in India, is considered a breeze and a light game internationally. So, so these are very, very two different trajectories, and I do believe that I think people who are in the industry ecosystem have a lot on to them to build and nurture the people and actually onboard what I call category recruitment, right? It's something, and each one of us is actually doing their bit to onboard more and more non-gamers into the gaming fold. And then, so once you are a gamer, then, you know, you move from light to medium to heavy and so on and so forth. So that's where we are, and excited to be at Ttox. Yeah, so. Oh yeah, oh sorry, yeah. So, thank you. So we are also playtesting our new game. It's called Biomes of Nilgris. So I take a lot of pride in this game for the single biggest reason, not because it's showcasing India, but because we have picked up a very high contextual topic, which is around biodiversity, discovery and conservation. So this game encourages you, each player plays as a role like a nature lover, a forest ranger, maybe a bird, you know, an animal whisperer, and so on and so forth. You end up exploring the biome maps and you end up discovering species. We have a whole host of endangered, vulnerable species. So you score for that, and there are actively advanced missions that we have. So it's a very immersive game. We have introduced certain real-life scenarios as advanced missions in the game. So that is something which I'm really proud of, because translating a real-life problem into immersive missions, immersive gameplay is something which is not really easy. And interestingly, if I also want to add here, India per se, see, there's a lot of talk about Amazon, you know, okay, and other places from a point of biodiversity. India has one of the richest biodiverse landscapes. Nilgris per se is one of the top global hotspots, but we have not received the kind of attention we should, either attention or even the funding in that. So we do hope to create some sort of a movement and create citizen scientists. You know, when people play this game, we really feel, like we're talking to a lot of people, and I see it's actually cutting across masses, it's cutting across ages, it's very universal, and we see interest coming in from a lot of institutions, which is from climate tech, sustainability, science centers, educationists. So I'm superbly excited about it, and some stellar work that is going right now in terms of artworks. The artwork is like really, you know, it's very realistic. So each and every species is being crafted in their own ecosystem. So the artwork process or go to market to get this game out is going to take some time, but we hope to do our best and put this on a global map for sure. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So people who are wondering, what goes on behind game design or behind a game, right? This is the amount of passion and research and discovery that goes on at the back, right? It's not just, hey, I have snakes and ladders, let me retheme it. I have Ticket to Ride, I'll retheme it, right? That's what is happening with most of the designers in design schools. And I'm sure Shraddha will vouch for it, because I myself have gone and taught as a visiting faculty in PES college. I don't know if some of them are here. This was 4 or 5 years back, and they said I'll have to review some of the games designed by the kids. It was Monopoly and Snakes and Ladders, Monopoly and Snakes and Ladders, right? And I'm there showing them a stack of 9 modern strategy games which were designed 30 years back, right? So that's when they were shocked. They were like, I've never seen any game without a dice. That was the first reaction. And the funny thing is, 99% of the games in modern strategy don't have a dice. And we called ourselves Dice Toy Labs. Right? Yeah. And see, this exactly what goes on behind the scenes, right? But to give you a rough idea, I think after Shraddha and I think you should start. I think it's becoming women are taking over our industry. So it's all about diversification and
We have each other's back at Srishti.
yeah, awesome.
I don't mind being the last. Being the shortest in the class, I used to try to stand last in the line, so I'm more than okay with being the last person. So I'm sorted with that. Just to give a small brief, my name is Krishna. I am working with Srishti Manipal Institute of Art Design and Technology. I am working with a discipline called as Information Arts and Information Design. And I'm basically a toy and game designer and a paper modeler. When it comes to board games, almost everything that everyone has said stands pretty much true in terms of the fact that if you're not passionate about it, then board game is one thing that can fizz out of your attention and your mind almost in the snap of a finger. And one thing that I constantly am trying to convey to the students per se, because my audience is the students, because I believe that they are the ones who will eventually be becoming the parents of the future, and they will have to start imparting this one-on-one interaction with their kids, because that's one thing that board game encourages. You have to be with the person 100%. Otherwise, just like the way your interest fizzes off from a board game, the kid's interest will also fizz off from a board game. And it's interactive. It's extremely interactive. It's conversational. And you have to be there 100%. So the two things that I keep emphasizing the students about is A, the involvement that has to be there within the game has to be 100%. And second, no matter what you want to learn under any frame of academics can be done through the medium of a game. Because the game is the only self-sustained system which can convey the information to you whether you're there or you're not there. That for me is the epitome of what a game stands for. It is a self-sustained system. It's an information design package which can be delivering whatever the creator wants to be delivered without the creator being there. For me, there is nothing better than that of a game. And over the last 8 years that I've been at Srishti, students have designed Snakes and Ladders as a 100% strategy game, 3-dimensional, turn-based, dice with strategy, dice without strategy, abstract strategy, cooperative with them fighting against the Snakes and Ladders game board system, to animal-human conflict on ecosystems existing and even based on something existing but is decaying, to something looking at informing people about how to regulate finances, to even pollution, biodiversity, crossing the road, child safety, and so on and so forth. So for me, what I've understood as a game, or what I think of game, is that it is a platform which can convey whatever information you want to convey, and it is the only place where you can make a mistake, tweak it, correct it, and see the output in an instant. There's no other option that is available in any other frame of work except games. Yeah.
Picking up from where everyone is leaving, my name is Shraddha Jain. I have been a catalyst in the Ahmedabad board game community for a good 12 years. My professional background is fine arts in printmaking, and I studied at NID, and I majored in filmmaking. And now one wonders, how did game happen? Well, a lot of factors, everything was connected. I started traveling a lot. During travels is when I saw a lot of places in Northeast, people are still playing indigenous games. People who didn't have the fancy board games that we afford. I still don't have a chess in my collection of 150 board games. So what intrigued me, it's not the number of games one has or the community access. It's with the simplest of things, how people are engaging in communities. And this was across generations. I would see grandparents sit around on a roadside in Nepal and play with children. Chandigarh post office ke bahar, people are playing Ludo during lunch break. So when you're so deeply passionate about something, you start seeing those things around you. That is what was happening with me when I started in 2009. Moving forward, games kept happening, starting with a piece of chalk and pebbles at Chaigate at NID, to coming this far where I'm teaching game design for a living. I literally play for a living. I boast about it. So being on this side, I feel what the community TTOX is a very great anchor for building these communities. Where in India, the mindset is still very dismissive. Games to bachcho ke liye hota hai. That is a major mindset. How do we switch that? Things have evolved a lot in the last 10 years itself. from 2009 to 2023, 24 now. My 14 years have happened in game design where I've started seeing from people mocking to people tapping on your shoulder saying, I used to play this game with my grandmother. I used to play this game as a kid. Traditional games transiting to modern board games, which a lot of us speak that language now. If you see the two rooms downstairs, Hall A and Hall B, you would see the difference in people getting introduced to it, easing in a very non-intimidating way, in a very friendly way, to hardcore gamers playing heavy games on the other side. The power of community is when the one person who knows the game is getting more people. Those people have spoken about those games to others. And that has been the organic growth in the Indian board game industry. So while we do need people who get into game design, people who feel passionately about living their own truth and answering their creative calling, to people with a different background coming on board and taking the plunge, leaning on to a platform like Ttox and especially Board Game Design Lab, I would say. The most active and always ready to assist. So this is no promotion for any of these groups. One thing that binds us all is probably the passion we share for board games and growing the community and knowing that India is going to grow 15%. This was Statista a couple of days ago when I was researching on it. The growth of the Indian board game industry stands at 15%, which I'm sure is undermarked. I'm sure it would be a lot more. So as a game educator in Srishti, Manipal, running my own studio called Studio Clockworks, the objective is to be a community catalyst by bringing traditional games back on surface and easing people into modern board games, whether they are Euro style, whether they are other games of likes, and promoting Indian games, Indian themes. So current project I'm working on is called the Coffee Cultivars of Southern India. I was a teetotaler, but I was like, coffee? People are so passionate about coffee. Okay, we have too many subjects in India to deal with. So it won't happen overnight, as Shelly says. But we have an idea bank, a notebook full of ideas. How many can we translate on the group? Always, every person can say they have at least 10 ideas which are parked. Which ones are worth fighting for? Which ones would need more help and assistance to develop? So development as a vertical, I feel, is the strongest of all. So what stories we tell through board games. Of course, Monopoly though, I'm very anti-Monopoly. Our childhood has been that, but I'm a hardcore Cluedo fan when it comes to classic, and Istanbul as my contemporary favorite amongst a lot of other. So my lockdown project was localization of Wingspan in Hindi for the Indian market. So yes, so Wingspan has been under the wings. So I'm happy about being part of this game design community. TTOX marks the beginning of many more conventions. So thank you, Falgun, for having all of us together in one place. Thanks.
Okay, so one thing that you guys heard repeatedly is storytelling through board games, right? And which story to pick? We heard from Shelly, we heard from all of these guys. She said, hey, food, everybody drools at it. Let's make a game. In fact, we recently playtested one game where you have a banana leaf as a player mat. And we are cooking all of these things. I just ordered food. I'm like, dude, I can't continue playtesting this, right? And storytelling through board games, right? So this opens up a very important thing. In fact, I actually wanted to ask you about how do you go about teaching game design to design students, right? You can add some value. We actually conduct a lot of workshops, and we had the privilege of having Shraddha at one of the workshops. We do a game design workshop, okay? It's not design workshop, it's a game design workshop. It's a pretty intensive one where people will be toast by the end of 2 days. Like, what the hell hit me, kind of a feeling. Just to give you some metrics, so you understand why we are so freaking passionate about this, right? When we started in 2017-18, we were like a startup and we wanted to pitch to investors. That was a in thing then, right? We were hunting down VCs, sent out 60. I remember me and Shweta, my wife and co-founder, 2 o'clock in the night, we are sending out emails so that the VCs see that email first thing in the morning, right? We were so stupid and naive. And when, this is when we realized it's not a VC fundable business, right? Around that time, we had to make a pitch and started pitching to investors after investors after investors. My calendar was filled with pitches to the same investor, because this, if you pitch to 5 investors, they'll tell you, hey, come back next week. I want you to pitch the same damn thing to another person. All right. So we had literally memorized slides. We didn't even have to look at it. Okay. So we actually stumbled upon a couple of metrics which blew our mind. I think it'll blow your mind also. I don't know how many of you know about it. Let's see. So the parent umbrella, some of the guys here who've been in the workshop, they're brainwashed with it, I guess. But if you look at board games, it's under the parent, which is the umbrella category called toys. Unfortunately. In Germany, it's the other way around. Okay, if you actually go to Amazon.de or whatever, they are categorized by mechanic. That's mad. Okay, in India, it just falls under toys. Under toys, you have DIY kits, you have all this gem making and what is that? Sticky, what is that? Slime thing, and jigsaw puzzles and Lego and construction kits, and everything is under the same umbrella, right? And then you have games, and then you have board games. Okay. So we started understanding how is the toy market in the world, in India, etc. Right? This is 2017-18 I'm talking about. Okay. The world toy market is a $110 billion market. You can actually Google for this. All right. In this, the 45% of the market share is just US. One country which has 300 million population is 45% of the toy market in the world. Okay? We are 1.4 billion today with 700 million middle and upper middle class people in the age group of 18 to 40 years. You can Google all these metrics. All right? How much do you think? You see all middle class families hitting the mall, wasting $10,000 for those 2 days, right? How much do you think is India's market share in this world market of toy? 110. Somebody saying, okay. Anybody else want to take guesses? You want to take guesses? Any guesses? 5%. Any more? 2%. Okay. It's 0.5%. It's not even a whole number. All right? And we're looking at this market doubling every 5 years because it's growing at 13-15% ARR or whatever. And we're like looking at this, dude, Indians are full of nerds. You put to a logical reasoning IQ test in WhatsApp, the whole group wakes up. Right? Why are we still stuck to Sudoku and Monopoly and stuff like that? There's some mismatch. Some weird goof up in metrics. Sorry. And then we realized the actual world market for board games in that $110 billion is $4 billion. And I'm pitching to my investors, showing them a big pie chart and one sliver of a line, which is board games. And I'm like, shit, okay, these guys are not investing. They don't care about 4%, right? So they had estimated that in 2018, it's going to be 4 billion, the market share, in the 100 billion, and COVID happened. Can you take a wild guess, by the end of 2020, what was the estimated market share of just board games in that $110 billion market? They estimated 4 billion whatever, right? It turned out to be 13.6 billion. And the strange thing was, this was 2020. All right? You can Google for these metrics. And around this time, we are talking to all these board game CFOs and CEOs, like Blue Orange Games founder. If you have played, what is that sheep game? Battle Sheep. That was the first game launched by Blue Orange Games in France. It's a beautiful game. I don't know if you played Battleship. I love that game. Okay? It's just fantastic. Simple rules. It's area control and you're just like, these sheeps are like badass. Okay? This is designed by a team and one of them was Jalal. And Jalal for some strange reason, hunted us down when we were exhibiting in Germany. And he's like, talking to us and everything. I'm like, who's this guy? CFO, blue orange guy. I'm just staring at him. And he's throwing metrics at me like crazy. And I met him again at MeepleCon in Mumbai. He was the first international publisher who flew down to India to come to this board game convention, which was MeepleCon in Mumbai. And I'm showing it to him proudly. See, this is the Indian community, 15,000 people. In that, all 12,500 people were kids, okay, who had no clue what they were doing. We all know that. And I'm telling him this is growing exponentially. People are discovering games, and thanks to COVID and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm telling these things, and he's like, my friend, by 2028, is going to be a $65 billion industry, while the toy industry, unfortunately, because of the shelf life of toys, which is so low, you might have seen, get a Hot Wheels or whatever toy, right? They play, they assemble it, gone. It's in the toy chest. A board game has the longest shelf life. This is the discovery which hit us hard. All right? You might have seen, how many of you pulled out your old dusty Scrabbles and Monopolies when the, COVID hit, right? They're like, okay, I'm tired of mobiles. Let's pull out some game and play. And then we started realizing board games are the only medium where you play with other people at a table. Jigsaw puzzle is solo. Mobile gaming is solo. PlayStations and console gaming is solo. Reading a book is solo. What is that thing that you do with your family where you can actually create memories? I'm sure some of you actually remember some of these amazing moments when you played with your parents long, long ago and you laughed your asses off, and even today you're like, you said this when this happened, right? It's there. What do kids today playing Assassin's Creed tell their children? Hey, I was at level 100, man, what are you? That's bullshit, right? Okay, so.
Just to add to this, the exposures have been very different over the generations. The students who come to Srishti at today's time, they're 18-year-olds, they had PS5s when they were born already. Those are the exposures they have had. So what do we do to change the mindset of students who think only AAA games, only FPS, and throw 100 names? It's great. I think there should be marriage between the digital and analog worlds. I'm not against digital. I'm not extremely pro. Of course, I'm pro board games because of the social interaction aspect of it. No game has been same twice, even if I've played the same game 100 times. No game has been same twice with the same people, and we remember it, every session of it, etc. As a game designer who's an educator as well, how do you introduce the students to this world who can also go on to join these game industries who are also seeking people who understand games as a language? So when we talk about mechanics, we know what we are talking about. We are talking about game mechanics. But if you say to a third person, they'll be like, what mechanics you're talking about, right? So how do you introduce gaming literature to students is one of the steps. You cannot design games without playing games. You have 100%. To play games. You have to play games to understand the subject that you are getting or delving into. And it happens gradually. You might get the idea first and then you'll go back to playing, and then it's a back and forth. It's not a formula that you can stick to. So at Srishti, if it's a 5-week course, there'll be a week dedicated just to play games, a week dedicated to going back to the games and analyzing them, playing the analog version and the digital version of the same game. So during pandemic, digital board games came up as a new area and a new territory, and it was phenomenal. It made my job challenging, but also exciting at the same time, where I could teach remotely and still introduce people to board games. Because of those affordability of a digital board game, people were able to go back and buy a physical board game. So when we're talking about middle class, upper middle class, affordance becomes a big thing. Buying books and reading them are two different hobbies. Similarly in games, buying board games and playing them are two different hobbies, right? So people have to table a lot of games, and it takes a lot of effort. So me with my 10-year-old niece, on a drop of a hat, we used to have high society month. Anybody who says high society, we have to play the game. We'll have a cumulative score over the month. So we need these kind of people who start very young, 3rd standard, 4th standard. They have been teaching people games in the other heavy gaming section, and it makes me very proud that once we are entering the field, we have to start early, we have to capture different market segments, from students to grown-ups to parents, to make them understand and what magic it brings around the table. And there are no two ways of looking about it. You all would remember the first Euro-style board game somebody introduced to you. If any one of you are sitting here who have not played, let TTOX be that time where you would remember that I played Ticket to Ride, or I played Splendor, or King Dominoes, or Crisscross. You name a thing, we'll be there to explain, and let this be the starting point. So yeah.
So I remember towards the beginning, Falgun was talking about, you were talking about the importance of story. So we have conducted studios within Srishti where we have always, at least whenever I have taken up a game design studio, I have always emphasized on the aspect of a context. And a context is something which is what relates or roots the player to the output or the game. And I've always told the students, sorry. So there was a unit called as Time as Story. And I told the students first that, we'll first look at storytelling. So they started off on day 1, made a story. On day 3, I told them, okay, break the story into key stages. What are the key turn points of a story? By the end of day 6, they had done that. And then I told them, convert it into a game. And they just lost it. That how do you convert a story into a game? Then how do you convert a game into a story? It's just back and forth. Technically, what is a game? It is something that's got a standard start, a standard end. In the middle is where the entire dynamics happen. What is a story? It's technically having a start and an end, maybe where the hero wins and the villain dies, or vice versa. But what is in the middle is what the whole adventure is all about. In a game, that adventure is never constant, but the adventure is there. That's exactly what a game is. It's a story being played, but the entire journey being something that is getting mapped differently every single time you play it. You play Snakes and Ladders once. You know the start, you know the end. No 2 times will the game happen the same way. It's this very same thing. So again, coming back to what Falgun said, it's good to have a story, because I was interacting with a few students today and I was asking them the same thing. What is the story?
What's the narrative?
What is the narrative? Who are the floor players? Are they adventurers? Are they explorers? Are they hunters? Are they gatherers? Are they businessmen? Are they economists? Who are they? Because the moment you say that, it is almost in an instant, the player doesn't become the player, he becomes the character the moment you get into a game. And the most important aspect that I always want to emphasize on, which what even Falgun and Shraddha both said, was to tell the people in India that we were always a board game culture. Yes. It is not a bachon wala kaam. If board game banana to haan to koi bhi kar lega. It doesn't happen. It takes pains to make something, to even think. Because it's hard to make one. It's harder to think like a 5-year-old, to capture their attention, to keep them absorbed at that place for even 20 minutes or 10 minutes to play that game and enjoy.
Yeah. This is so amazing. I think I just want to end this thing because we're all designers here and there are aspiring designers in the crowd as well. We've heard so much about how to develop a game, how to think about it, how to start, where do you conceptualize it, right? Okay, some of you have already heard this, but I keep telling people, in fact, I want to leave you with this so that you can actually appreciate a game next time from this different lens, okay? So we keep telling people, designers who are aspiring, to think about 4 pillars on which a game is designed. Imagine it as a stool with 4 legs, all right? Each of these legs, it will be a theme. That's the story that he's talking about, right? We all spoke about story, story, story. Why? Because that makes it extremely engaging, draws the player into the game and connects to people, right? Second, you might have looked at the gameplay, or a third pillar that we keep telling is, artwork, and the 4th pillar are components. So 3 of these people nail it. They'll choose an amazing theme. Picking up a theme, people will sit on a commode and whip out ideas. Okay, they'll be like, hey, I just got $1 million game idea. Will you design the game? Oh, bloody hell. right? Tell me who's the end target audience. That's when I start questioning them. I have a 10 question thing that I start asking them, and they'll freak out. They're like, oh shit, what did I ask even? So they'll whip up a great theme: food, birds, forests. And we have a truckload of games in our studio. People who have visited our studio will hear a lot about it, right? We can hire the best artists. Now we have AI art also, which is ridiculous because for some reason humans' hands are always having 6 fingers, 7 fingers in it, right? Nothing like an illustrator getting paid for the effort they put. In fact, since you said you hate Monopoly, I hate Monopoly as well. Hasbro reached out to us to design a Monopoly for them. We were like, and then they said, you're the only design studio in Bangalore, in India, game design studio, not design studio, game design studio. And manufacturing, this, blah, blah, blah. We want you to design a game. Monopoly. We're like, okay, deal. How difficult is it? It's already, the system is ready. What else can you change in this, right? So I said, sure. No properties, no hotels, no houses, no chance, no community chest. They said, what the hell are you going to put in the game? And this is on a global call with everybody from across the world, Hasbro guys from all headquarters, Singapore, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, everybody, okay, UK, US. And they're all looking at me, who's this crazy guy? And then one person in the Hasbro team said that Hasbro has pivoted in the design of Monopoly in the last couple of years. Did you know this? Do you know that there's a Fortnite Monopoly where there is line of sight and you can build a wall and you actually fall in one of the properties? Nothing to do with buying properties in that game. So the game has been reduced to a 45-minute game now, no matter what. So we made a cricket game. We were like, first condition, finish in 45 minutes. Second condition, with or without properties, we want the player to win. You know how much you hate Monopoly for that reason, right? Some guy making sets after sets, you're like, I'm not playing this game, topple it and go. Right? So we designed that. Now, the reason why I was telling you this is, we wanted an artist, and we found an artist who's a farmer's kid in Chhattisgarh. I found him on Instagram. His name is Rakesh Maurya. You should just check him out on Instagram. Rakesh Maurya was making these concept art for mobile game characters. Have I told you the story? No. Okay. So this guy, I hunted him down. So I stalk people on Instagram. Anybody who hashtags Inktober, and if I like the art style and matches what I like, I stalk them, ping them until they say, hello, who is this? Right? So this guy responded. He did all of the characters, all of the cricketers for Monopoly. In fact, he's helped us in a lot of other games of ours as well. He charges me peanuts. I don't think he even knows how much to charge. It's like one plate of idli types. Okay? And he's like, sir, for you, I'll do it for free. I'm like, no, we'll work out. Okay? We sent it out to Hasbro. These guys, they said, very nice. Suddenly, South Africa and Australia want this game as well in their market. Can you make some of them blonde? So I asked this guy, he's like, what is blonde? So I had to share, you had to brainstorm, like hair is blonde, eyebrows are blonde. We discovered so much about the face structure at that point of time. We were like, shit, so much effort goes into this. And we sent it. We again get back saying, we want men and women in Monopoly. Now he charges me more. So, remember the 4 pillars. Try to appreciate what is the designer trying to convey through these games. Not just the designer, the publisher is also equally involved, and the script writers behind the games, their artists, the graphic designers. It's a big team, and there's a whole life cycle for this product for it to reach your hand. So when next time you take a look at this game, this is like Catan. Please don't say that. Every game has a different narrative. Yeah? Okay, thank you so much. I don't want to waste too much time. We have a couple of more people waiting here. It'll be a quick session. I think most of the main chunk of games and game design we have covered. Yeah, thank you so much for this awesome panel. Yeah, please feel free to check out all the games. You know, you have 12 hours and 12 hours each day. Feel free to check the games being showcased by the designers and publishers, and also feel free to check out all the games. Just follow the code of conduct. They're all our precious babies. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. A quick session with another panel discussion where we have people here who are building the community, using board games to build businesses and stuff like that. It'll be a 10-minute talk. Yeah? 10-minute panel discussion. Thank you so much.